Mirror, mirror on the wall, could the Texans be looking at themselves when they face the Chiefs on Saturday?
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, thank you for joining us for the Tuesday's edition of the Locked On Texans podcast. I'm Credential Media member Brian Big Sarge Bearfield and your Texans insider. Thank you for making us your first listen and for being an everydayer on the show, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, can Houston play spoiler this week? Can they play spoiler against the Kansas City Chiefs? A look within. What will the Texans learn about themselves? And is the offense ready to match the defense? Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Battle Red Nation, what's going on? Let's go ahead and jump right into this thing. All right, so the Houston Texans have secured their second consecutive AFC South championship. You heard on Monday's edition when John and I was talking about it and what it meant to the organization and what it meant to the franchise. But I think that when looking at the Houston Texans and what they're doing, when they travel into Arrowhead Stadium on Saturday, I think that they will be looking into the mirror. I honestly and truly believe that they'll be looking into the mirror when they play the Kansas City Chiefs, because this is how the Kansas City Chiefs got started. Once Patrick Mahomes was inserted into the lineup, they took off. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, that 1-2 combination has taken that franchise from being just, mediocre to good. Let's just call a spade. From mediocre to good to great. The Kansas City Chiefs will go down as a dynasty. And what the Houston Texans are building in these what they have built in these last 2 years, they're putting together and laying the foundation the exact same way. Listen, you got to listen to me. Listen to what CJ Stroud had to say on Tuesday at his press conference. Going against a team that has had that type of success, that set that foundation early to build on. Is that the same thing that you see with the Houston Texans, especially the success that you've had the first 2 years here?
Yeah, that's the goal, for sure, is like build a dynasty type of thing. And, to see Mahomes and Andy Reid do that, be the face of their franchise. And, I definitely, that's a inspiration there, and I think they do a great job of doing it humbly and, every week showing up and not taking the game for granted, playing it the right way. And, it's, something that I look up to, but also, want that for, this team and, this organization. So, working for that. And, I think they've set a good blueprint for it. And, but that's for them. And, we got to do what we have to do for the Texans and our team. And I think that, hopefully we'll be able to do that.
Wow. Whoever asked that question, that was a really good question to ask CJ about following the blueprint of the Kansas City Chiefs to help build a dynasty for the Houston Texans. Wow, whoever asked that. Oh, that was me. Y'all, I'm sorry. I had to take a little time to just, pat myself on the back. No, but with CJ and that answer that he gave, if you look at the Houston Texans and the way that they're currently constructed, right? The way they're currently constructed, I think that they are a veteran play caller away from being the Kansas City Chiefs. They have everything that the Kansas City Chiefs had as they built their dynasty and continue to move. CJ even said on Tuesday during the press conference that watching the Kansas City Chiefs and the way that they're able to retain their players, and even if they lose some players, they're able to get players into the organization that follows the exact same mindset that the Kansas City Chiefs have already developed, the foundation in which they have. And if you look at it, that's exactly what the Houston Texans have. The Houston Texans have a really good head coach, like the Kansas City Chiefs. They have a franchise quarterback. They have a big-time wide receiver. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they have Travis Kelce, their go-to. CJ has Nico Collins. They have a really good running game. They have a very good defense, just like the Kansas City Chiefs have. And I mean, if we're keeping it 100, They have a bad offensive line play, just like the Kansas City Chiefs. And so with the amount of success that the Houston Texans have had in the first 2 seasons, they are laying that foundation to be contenders in the AFC. Now, I think that Kansas City Chiefs time is coming to an end. Just like we seen because all dynasties come to an end. We seen what happened with the New England Patriots. At some point, they had to stop winning. And when you stop winning and when you're no longer a dynasty, then you have to start the rebuild all over again. The Dallas Cowboys was that way. The New England Patriots are that way. We're looking at the San Francisco 49ers, and they're up and down. All those franchises had something to build on from the beginning to reach that type of success that they had. So when you look at the Houston Texans and you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they mirror each other. I predict in a couple of years you'll see a bunch of matchups in the AFC Championship game between the Houston Texans and the Buffalo Bills. Because at some point, Patrick Mahomes' magic has to run out, right? Like at some point, Tom Brady's magic ran out. He got him a Super Bowl as he went out the door, but still, at some point, the magic has to run out. And so what the Kansas City organization has done is they put themselves in place in order to be a dynasty for that run. And now their run is coming to an end. I know that they're 13-1, but the amount of 1 score games that they have won is not something we're used to seeing with a Kansas City Chiefs team. We're used to seeing them stepping on the field, blowing their opponents out, and then moving on. So yes, I do know that they're 13-1. I do know that they have been able to survive. I know that they're the number 1 seed in the AFC. But Buffalo is right on their heels, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And the Houston Texans are putting together a team. They're laying a foundation. It starts winning the AFC South, which they have won in the last 2 years. Now you got to build on that. You got to move on. So you went to a divisional round game. You won a wild card game. You went to a divisional round game. You tied the number 1 team in the AFC last season in the Baltimore Ravens. You had them tied at the half, and then you lost the war of attrition. This season, AFC South, you have a wild card game at home. If you win that, you advance on, and you play in the divisional round. Now, the way that things are currently constructed, if you look at the playoff brackets and they say, if the playoffs started today, what you'll see is a rematch of the Houston Texans versus the Kansas City Chiefs if they beat the Baltimore Ravens in the first round. That's why I said on one of the previous shows that it's so important that they get the AFC South title out of the way first, because their next 2 opponents in the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens is so important that they got the AFC South title wrapped up, because now they get in a feel for the potential matchups that they may face, the potential teams that they may face in the playoffs. And so when you look at the Houston Texans and you look at what they're doing, and you look at all it's going to take is, for them to get themselves on track. And once they get themselves on track, they can do whatever it is they need to do. So going into Kansas City on Saturday, this is a measuring stick type game. And CJ Stroud said the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think every game is that, to learn where you match up against guys, and I thought, on film, they have a lot of great players. They play well together. They've been playing together for a long time, and just add, new pieces that fit their system well. So, I think they do a great job, and, excited to match up against them.
There's a lot of people who don't believe that Patrick Mahomes will play. And I think that that's sad, because I would really love to see the matchup on both offenses between CJ Stroud and Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be sad. But the Houston Texans definitely need to go in there and win that game, because if they do, they'll play spoilers. And I'll tell you, one team who is really, really will be watching that game on Saturday, the matchup between the Texans and the Chiefs. There's one team in the AFC that's watching and cheering on the Houston Texans. I'll tell you who that is after the break. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. It's that time of the year. The college football playoff is back. And with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT sports coverage of the college football playoffs begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Leading into our first matchup, the Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoffs presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. Welcome back to the Locked On Texans podcast. So before the break, I told you that there'll be one team that will be watching the Houston Texans versus the Kansas City Chiefs matchup on Saturday at noon. There's one team that will be rooting for the Houston Texans. And it's going to be weird, right? Before I even tell you who the team is, it's going to be weird because if anything, they want an opportunity and a chance to get revenge on the Houston Texans. And that is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, who the Houston Texans defeated earlier this season, will be watching this game. They may even have a watch party. I'm pretty sure Josh Allen has invited all of them over to his house or wherever they're going to be this week. They will be watching collectively as a group to see if the Texans can defeat the Kansas City Chiefs. And if they do, Houston can play the spoiler. Houston can play the spoiler because right now the Chiefs are the #1 seeded team in the AFC. They're 13-1. Their next 3 games is against the Texans, the Steelers, and the Broncos. Their next 3 games is against playoff-bound teams. They're doing that with the hobbled Patrick Mahomes, whose status is still uncertain for Saturday's game against the Texans, especially since they have a turnaround where he's playing on Saturday and then have to turn right back around and play on Christmas Day. And so his status is still in the air and still is uncertain on if he will play. We'll find that out a little bit later on in the week if he's going to be able to play because he did sustain a high ankle sprain in the last game. So their next 3 games, even though they sit at 13-1, their next 3 games is against playoff teams who have playoff goals, aspirations, of who's going to be there. The Texans have punched their ticket. The Steelers have punched their ticket. The Broncos are trying to punch their ticket. The Bills, who are currently at 11-3, play the Patriots, the Jets, and the Patriots. 2 teams that I think if you combine their win total, if you combine their win-loss total, like you could put those 2 teams together and they still wouldn't be over 500 on the season. And this is who the Bills have to end up playing. And so if the Chiefs go, let's just say they go 2-1 in their last game and they end up at, if they go 1-2 and they end up at 14-3 and the Bills win their last 3 games and they end up 14-3, the Bills on the tiebreaker, the Bills would get the first round bye. The Bills would be the #1 seed. So why it's so important for the Houston Texans to go in here, and even though they're pretty much secure, they pretty much secured at least nothing less than 4th. They may be able to move up to the 3rd seed, just depending on what Pittsburgh does. But for the most part, they're going to be stuck at the 4th seed and probably will play the Baltimore Ravens. So what the Texans want to do is they want to go in and they want to spoil this weekend's matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. Because, I mean, let's just look at it. No matter what, the road to the Super Bowl for the AFC is going to go through 2 cold weather environments. And both of them get frigid. It snows way more in Buffalo. And so the Texans, they're going to have to get ready to, if they want to play in the AFC Championship, they already know they have to get ready to play in cold weather, just like they're going to do on Saturday against the Kansas City Chiefs. And with that on their mind, them knowing that they have an opportunity to go in and play spoiler and knock them out of that number 1 seed, that's motivation for them. That's motivation for them to be able to go in there and to be able to do that's motivation for them to be able to go in there, spoil that for them, and then look back and say, okay, here we go. Because the one thing about DeMeco Ryans is he's competitive, right? He's competitive. He don't want to lose no game. All day, all he kept saying on Tuesday was, hey, we're competitive. And once we put the ball down, once they put the ball down, you just got to play. We know who they are. We know what they are. We know what they've done. We know their record this year. We know who's on the other side. We know who their coach is. We know what their offense can do. We know what their defense can do. But you still have to play the game. You still have to play the game. And so going up against the Chiefs on Saturday, DeMeco is like, we understand who they are, what they are, but we're still coming into Kansas City to win. Here's what he said on Tuesday.
I know. I know, man. I know you guys. No, because for me, I don't, like, our guys don't need to feel like this is, we need to step up to Kansas City. They're a great team. Everybody understands that in the NFL, in the world. Everybody understands KC has been dominant in the league for the past, I don't know, however many years. They've been dominant. So I don't need to make it more of a awareness factor for our guys. Everybody knows KC. They've been great for a long time.
So they're not finna just go in there and lay down. Does DeMeco look like the kind of coach that would allow his team to say, okay, y'all, we won the AFC South. Let's just scale it back until we make it into the playoff start. All right, we're gonna take a step back. We still got 3 more games to play. We're gonna take a step back just a little bit. Does he look like that type of coach? No, he doesn't. He is very competitive. Sometimes talking to DeMeco, I almost feel like I'm talking to another player, not the head coach of the Houston Texans, but I feel like I'm talking to another player. And so with their remaining games between the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Tennessee Titans to end the season, he's going in trying to win every game that he can. There's no such thing as that team over there is better than us. Record-wise, cool. But when we put that ball down, when they put the ball down on the field to play, we feel like we're going to be able to, we feel like we can compete with any and everybody. And that's the one thing that the Kansas City Chiefs should be afraid of, very afraid of, because they're coming in with a top 5 defense. They're coming in with a top 5 defense who have a lot of ball hawks. There are a lot of players who swarm to the ball. A lot of players on that defensive side of the ball who will come and disrupt everything that the Kansas City Chiefs are trying to do. The only problem is the offense going to match up. We'll talk about that after the break. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you love watching the game, you're going to love Prize Picks, the easy and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. Whether it's football, basketball, or any of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Prize Picks and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. This week, I'm looking at Jared Goff for more than 230 yards and Saquon Barkley for more than one touchdown. It's quick, simple, and so much fun to challenge myself and my friends. Download the Prize Picks app and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly when you play just $5. Prize Picks, run your game. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing out about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen today. Now, for your second listen, go find Locked On NFL with 2 shows every day. First, the madman, Tyler Rowland, kicks off your morning with a double shot of NFL espresso, and then stop by the barber shop with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. All right. Welcome back to the Locked On Texans podcast. So, the Texans have this conundrum. Is that what I want to call it? Do I want to call it a conundrum? Okay, because some people don't feel like getting their thesauruses out. Some people don't feel like getting their dictionaries out. Some people don't want to use Siri, AI, Chat, GPT, Alexa, none of that stuff. Okay, so let me just say this. The Texans have an issue. And their issue is the offensive side of the ball is not matching the defensive side of the ball. The offensive side of the ball's intentions are to play with the same intensity and fervor. Okay, sorry, you did it again. The offensive side of the ball's intentions is to play with intensity and passion, the same as the defensive side of the ball, but they're not matching. It's not going together. And that's what will make the Houston Texans a dangerous team once they can get it together. But as of right now, even with the way that they played against the Miami Dolphins, and we've seen, CJ Stroud and Nico Collins get on the same page for those 2 touchdown passes on a short field, it's still not matching. And that's the problem that the Houston Texans have. Now, DeMeco Ryans don't care if he wins a game 6-0, 9-0, 12-9, as long as he gets the win. He said on Monday during his press conference, that's what December football is about, grinding it out, getting the win. So for him, he would love to see the offense score more points. He would love to see the offense get rolling. He would love to see the offense play the same way that they played last season, but it just hasn't been there. And by not being there, they're not matching. They're not coming into a game fully confident. The defensive side of the ball comes in confident, knowing that they're going to go out there and they're going to put on a performance. And it almost seems like sometimes the offensive side of the ball comes in and says, we're going to try. The defense says, we're going to do. The offense says, we're going to try. And so the offense has to be ready to match the defense. Joe Mixon told us on Tuesday in the locker room that we have to step up. We have to be the same as the defense. We played complimentary football on Sunday, but complimentary football ain't gonna get us to where we need to be. And we're talking about someone who has been to the mountaintop. We're talking about somebody who has played in a Super Bowl. We're talking about somebody who on his former team made it to the Super Bowl by going through the Kansas City Chiefs. And so the Texans need to start on Saturday. They need to start fast and they need to continue fast. We've seen them start fast against the Dolphins, but they weren't able to sustain that. And even in the second half, I think that they had if I'm not mistaken, it was a touchdown and then 4 punts. I have to go back and look, but they were not as efficient as they had been the week before the bye week against Jacksonville. And so once they are able to get that together, you're hoping that they're able to get that together on Saturday. But if not, then you're looking at a Kansas City Chiefs team, even without Patrick Mahomes, who can give you fits. It's the scheme too. Now, don't get me wrong. Patrick Mahomes makes that offense go. But Andy Reid is able to scheme up, and he's played against the best of the best as far as defenses are concerned. He's played against the best of the best as far as defensive coordinators are concerned. And in order to beat a team like the Chiefs, even this season, when they are scoring low, you have to put them away. You cannot allow them to hang around, because if you allow them to hang around, that's how they end up winning 15, 16 straight one-score games. That's how they're able to win a game on a missed field goal, just hanging around, staying around. Their opponent's missing a field goal. That's how they're able to. They sit back and they wait on their opponents to make a miscue, and then they score just enough to win the game. And so, what the Houston Texans have to do is this is a game where the offense should go in there and say, we're not going to win ugly. That's why I'm so happy that they won the AFC South title on Sunday, because I think in these next 3 games, they should play carefree football. I think that CJ Stroud should be allowed to call his own plays on some offensive drives. I believe that Bobby should sit back and say, okay, CJ, we have to get ourselves prepared and ready for the playoffs. You can't go into Kansas City and still with the same mindset of week 8 saying, hey, we just got some things we need to clean up. It's too late in the season to still be cleaning up. If you're still cleaning up this time of the season, your house just gonna be dirty. If you still cleaning up at this time of the season, then your car ain't gonna never be clean on the outside or the inside. At this part of the season, everything should be clean, or at least put up to the point. You know how when your company getting ready to come over, one of your relatives call, hey, I'm in the neighborhood, I'm about to swing by. And you clean up good enough for them to go into the living room and the guest bathroom. They should be able to have that done already. But if it's going to take you 2 days to clean up your house, if a visitor wants to come over, then your house just going to be dirty. So the Houston Texans should not still be cleaning up at this point of the season. It's entirely too late to clean up. However your house looks now, however your offense looks now, that's how it's going to look. Now, it's not too late to tidy up. It's not too late to tidy up. You can still tidy up. But cleaning up is going to take some time. And that time is something that the Houston Texans don't have. On the offensive side of the ball, they don't have that. Because just like we talked about earlier this season, what happens when the defense doesn't play good? If the defense has to keep bailing you out, then they can never have a bad game. And that's not fair to the defensive side of the ball. There should be some times where the defense plays bad and the offense bails them out. But I don't think we've really seen that this season. Every time the Texans have won, it's because the defense has done their part and more. In Sunday's game against the Miami Dolphins, who won that game? It was the defense. The defense kept the field short. The defense kept Tua off the field by getting them, making the Dolphins punt or turning him over, getting turnovers. It was the defensive side of the ball that won that game for Houston against Miami. Against Kansas City, it needs to be the offensive side of the ball moving. We say this every week. Every week. What are your keys to victory? Get Nico involved. Get Tank involved. Throw to Mechie. Throw to Schultz. Get the running game going with Joe Mixon. We sound like a broken record every week. It's time for us to say, just give CJ the damn ball and let him do what he do. He has earned it. And even though his numbers may not look like it, he's the leader of that offense. And if you put more trust in him and you allow him to be CJ Stroud, if you allow him to be CJ Stroud, the offense will match the defense. And you have 3 games to get hot. It is not too late. You got 3 games to get hot, roll into the playoffs, and that's all it takes. All it takes is for you to get hot. All it takes is for everybody to be firing off on all cylinders on the offensive side of the ball, because you already know what the defense is going to give you. Thank you for tuning into the Locked On Texans podcast. Make sure you follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Star Sports with the Z at the end. Subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans podcast, and follow us on Twitter, X, at Locked On Texans. Until next time, Battle Red Nation, peace.